Namaskar, welcome. This is a very special edition of Inside Tonight with Ashok Vyas, and many times we feel that we could have done more with our life than what we did, and sometimes we end up blaming it on the fate or on people who we are surrounded by. Uh, it is rare that we introspect and see that there is a slight shift. Being a little bit more organized would have resulted into totally different output and accomplishments. It's a very very important theme for us as individual as well as human race, I would say. And I have the pleasure of welcoming two individuals who I felt are very, very organized. And let me bring in Nalini Juthani ji. Dr. Nalini Juthani ji has served many people as psychiatrist, and her book, An Uncompromising Activist, also tells us from the words of her daughter also that she's very organized. And how she managed to be organized, we'll learn that with Paresh Shah ji. Paresh ji, welcome. Namaste.
Thank you.
Paresh,
Thank you, sir.
Paresh ji's profession also demands him to be organized, is my take. Being a financial professional, he's helping people live an organized life on the track of their financial variables. So let me, uh, by requesting Nalini ji, what is it that you would consider organized living?
Organized living to me is when people have their life going in the direction that they would like to go and they would like to see it run. In order to do that, people have to have a vision. You have to know as to where am I going, why am I going, what's my goal. So goal is also very important. We can keep going every day. Everybody does the same thing every day, but it has to have a meaning. And people who are doing this do it because they have a vision, they have a meaning to their life. And in
So,
order, yeah, sorry, go
yes,
ahead.
I just enjoy interrupting because that's my organized way of doing this program. So, Pareji, when she mentions about having a goal, I was stuck there because that means being organized is directly related to having clarity about one's goal. Is that the way you also see it? And in that case, organized living precedes clarity.
Clarity precedes organized living, actually, because if you know where you're going, then only you can plan the road of how to get there. Otherwise, how are you going to plan the road of how to get to the place where you want to be? I mean, um you goal clarity, and you said you were stuck up there, but it's very clear. Like if I get out of my car and I just start roaming around, I might aim around for half an hour, 1 hour, and eventually be at the same spot. But if I know that I'm going to come to the studio and I have to be there 2 hours later, then I will plan the route. I will take advantage of GPS technology, whatever needs to be done. So yes, goal or clarity about where you want to be precedes organization.
So now, Nalini ji, if I take the liberty of disagreeing with both of you for a little bit time period, maybe I'll come to the same spot where you are. Many of us, as a student or even those who are working, they are not very focused on the goal. Yet there is a sense of orderliness which is needed so that they will become clear. So I would probably break it up. There is a long term goal, long term vision, and there are some short term goals. So many times people are clear about short term goals. They may not be clear about the long term goals. So that differentiation, how do you see reflects in someone being more organized or less organized?
So short term goals is where we all start. After we are born, we don't know what is our long term goal. We do not have that kind of a vision. But what we do have is short term goals, where we know today I'm going to go to school. What are the things I need for the school? And we set a path to meet that goal. And then as we get older, our path gets longer as we are able to have a vision which can see a little bit further. And this continues until the time comes when we are more mature, and to be able to say, when people ask what do you want to become, and many times children would say, I have no idea what I want to become. And so that is the beginning of giving them a roadmap as to what do you want, what do you see yourself doing
Yeah.
when you get up.
Yeah. So one more interruption, and then we'll take it from where you have left off. Pareshi, if you go back to your school days, so one way short-term goal was that whatever the grade it was, you were to pass that. But in the same classroom, you will have some students who will have very neatly kept notebooks for every subject. There will be few like me who will end up mixing up. Sometimes the chemistry goes to physics, physics goes to chemistry, sociology to whatever. So that sense of orderliness, which I'm referring to as organized living, it it has something to do with the basic habit pattern with which either you are born, or I mean, how do you see do you recollect some friends of yours who were more organized than others in their hostel life, or how they would keep their clothes, etc.?
Absolutely. I mean, there's always going to be a difference between how some person remains neat, clean, or some person does his work, or some person appears in a certain way. And when you said earlier that like, okay, not everybody has goals, but if you don't have goals, then there are goals set for you. Like as an example, if I don't have a goal that tomorrow I am going to be working in this manner and covering this much, this much, this much, then the organization I work for will then set it at, okay, you have to be here at 9 and you have to leave here at 5, and in between 12 to 12:30 you have to take your break. So if you don't do it, that organization will do it for you. So coming to school and college, it is again about the goal, because the a person might have a goal that I want to come first in class. Doesn't mean that he has to keep all his books properly, but his goal will be to ensure that every day he attends all the classes, he takes down all the notes in a proper way, and he ensures that he remembers everything so that he can write properly in the exam. But does that mean that his notebook should have a proper cover? I remember all my textbooks by the middle of the semester used to be completely torn and worn out. But that didn't mean that I that didn't mean that I didn't know them. I knew my subjects and I
You
could
knew
write
that,
my
that's
exam.
why they were torn. Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true. So
No, I
here,
don't think so. I think it was more because of the way I used to handle it, throw it around, when I used to pack my bag, I used to dump everything inside. I would take out books roughly from my bag, put them back in the backpack in a very rough manner. So those were bad habits which caused the books to be in bad shape.
yeah,
Did I was not naturally inclined towards keeping that in order, but I did have a goal that I needed to know everything, so I would come and read those books properly and thoroughly and get the knowledge.
absolutely. So we'll
So
we'll go back to the long term goal later on, but Nalini is talking about the short term day to day situation, which whether you are a kid or a grown up, many people face. That is, where did I keep my keys, or where is my phone? These kind of stuff. So, do you consider that as a part of unorganized living, which results into someone misplacing many things that they need and they don't find it at the right time? So sometimes they get frustrated that where is my car key now? Paresh is waiting for me. and if I get delayed, I'll have to pay the bill, etc. So things like that.
You have to pay the bill anyway, Ashokji, so don't worry about that part.
So Nalini ji, how to prevent us from wasting time in looking for these commonly used items?
So, one thing is that we all grew up with some adults who guided us. If you have your things which are placed in a particular place, then it is easy to find it. If you have a habit of putting things wherever, then it is not going to be. So that's number one. Second thing is, these habits that are taught to us become part of our life. Same thing is, once we go to school, our teachers play a role in that. As further we go to work, then the same thing will happen. Our employer will say, come with that book, and we have no idea where that book is. So that's that. What happens in the final outcome is our efficiency goes down, and once our efficiency goes down, the outcome gets derailed, and that is the shortcoming. We also have to know what are our priorities. So if we are putting everything in order all day long, then we forget that at the end of the day I was supposed to produce this report while I'm still fixing my table and my office and so on and so forth. So one has to also know my priorities so that I can go along that route. And that leads you into then long-term goals as well.
So now we are talking about you actually. When I say you, meaning each one of us who want to do better than what they have done so far, in terms of being more efficient, in terms of contributing for their own growth as well as for the growth or benefit of their family members, society at large, or creating an impact. What we are having in common is there are limited number of years that we are here. Even if it is 100, it is limited. So what you can do in the number of years that you have is very significant, and if it goes down the drain in searching for this or that, so being efficient definitely is important. Paresh, what is it that you consider helped you in being efficient professionally, and having the kind of zeal to do your best?
I will start. I will first talk about a quote that I heard many years earlier from Benjamin Franklin. And he said, "A minute spent in organization earns you an hour." So basically, when you were talking earlier that that somebody puts their keys properly and somebody puts their things properly. That's what happens if you put it properly. If you spend when you come home, if you spend 2 minutes to put it in the right place, then next day morning you don't waste 1 hour to get it. I mean, that's the simple part about it. But as life progresses, things come into your life, which I call are the life lessons. And you may be passionate about, say, for example, you may be passionate about a music event, and you did not organize yourself and get there in time to stand in line to buy the tickets, and you missed a show that you really wanted to see. You were late in trying to get onto the internet to submit an application for a job or for a project that you really wanted, and just at that time, because you were late, the wi-fi failed for that next 15 minutes, or the system crashed and you could not submit your project because you were not organized and doing it early enough. And those kind of experiences, they keep rising up in terms of intensity and pain as life goes forward, in terms of what you miss out on. And as those lessons come in, you have two choices. Either you take those lessons and do what Benjamin Franklin has said, and that is to start getting yourself organized, or you will lose more and more in time. And the and the lesson will get bigger and bigger, and the pain will get bigger and bigger. So it is up to you as to what is your level of pain tolerance, at beyond which you cannot take the pain of not having attained what you wanted to attain.
So here is
That
another.
you that trips you over, that
Absolutely.
trips you over into being organized.
Yeah. So, Paresh, here is another dimension, and where I'll request Nalini ji to weigh in on, and that is you're not just increasing pain for yourself as an individual, but also it ends up becoming a sense of irritation, frustration, and pain for people around you. So it gradually starts playing on the quality of relationship which you share with people, because you cannot always have people having a sense of forgiving mode of mindset. They will they will feel that why he or she always ends up putting me in a miserable situation. So if you are supposed to bring some thing, you always are not bringing it. uh, if you are going together to even have a picnic or something. So Nalini ji, the question is how to deal with people who are of that kind, who are not organized, but you have to work with them. So this is the another viewpoint on the same situation.
So I like to work with my example, and I cannot expect from others what I don't do myself. So, first thing is, I show that I'm a perpetual student. I'm on a range of going higher up or falling two steps behind. And that's a human being. I'm also showing that I have the potential to do better, and so do you. And so, that perpetual way of reflecting upon oneself and learning from the mistakes of others has helped me the most. So I don't have to commit those same errors so that I can go forward. Same thing is true when you deal with your students, as I was, or your children. You show them that it is okay. I can make the mistake, you can make the mistake, we all can make a mistake. But our goal should be to go one step higher and not be round and round in circles doing the same thing over and over again.
So in lighter vein, they say that I don't make the same mistake. I always create new ones. So there'll be, there'll be something new that would come up. And many times you have to be patient, because there are uncertain developments out of uh, unknown space, and then you have to deal with. But that is exceptional. In general, there is a track, there is a sense of clarity as to how you should go about doing things. And in that sense, as I was reading your book, An Uncompromising Activist, your daughter also says that you are very organized. You also mentioned it 2 3 times that I'm very very organized. And so let us add the element of being organized internally, emotionally, and what helps. And is there correlationship between the way you keep your room in orderly fashion and the way you have your internal environment with the emotions placed in proper order?
Are you?
Would you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I think that as far as I can go back, there are certain things which are inherent. They have been given to us. Some people may say that is a biological brain function. Some people may say that is my karma. Some people may say this is a gift that is given to me by the spiritual part of me, my Atma. And I believe in all of them. There are also things that we have learned, but the learning becomes easier for those who have been given this. inherently. And I believe that from early childhood, that's what my mother used to say, that you saw the road, we didn't have to work so hard on you. And then we had other kids in the house, and they would say, I have to keep on telling you over and over again. So I think that that inherent part is our good karma, and it's a blessing, it's a gift that should be used to help others and not be abused.
Absolutely. And now let's look at some practical tips from both of you. Paresh, there are people who you tell them something, and next time you meet them they will refer to what you told them at that time, and if there was some request made, then they'll make sure that you get it. And there's some people who are good at heart, and you know that they love you, but but they will forget what you asked them. So how to change this habit pattern? Is there any uh, tip that you can share based on your own experience that includes the use of efficient use of technology?
So again, I think I would love to go back to where Nalini ji started. That is that what is your goal? What is your aim? And you mentioned this a little while ago, Ashok ji. You mentioned about the fact that relationships. How are you going to maintain relationships with other people and things like that. At the end of the day, it's about your goal and what do you value in your life. Do you value so say for example, if my child asks me that, dad, on the way home pick up this thing, because it's my birthday today, and
And you
I
forget all
don't pick it up, and I don't pick it up, and then I see how crestfallen he is, then that stimulates me to ensure that next time I do not do it. So again, as I keep saying, how much is your threshold of pain? As my coach likes to tell me, either you pay the price or you bear the cost. One of the two. You pay the price today. That means you organize yourself today, or you bear the cost of the consequences, which can be disappointment, failure, or lack of something that is very critical and important to you not happening. You know, so what cost are you willing to bear so that you don't do what you do today? And in time, you learn that there are some things that are important to you, there are some things that are useful to you. So it starts with that internal mechanism where you see a shift or a tilt in yourself. Now, once you see that tilt in yourself, that you want to make a difference, you want to have that change, you want to ensure that you don't forget to bring the gift home on the birthday, you want to ensure that you don't forget a client's request because that client is important to you in terms of the revenue for the business. So you ensure that he had asked some questions and you want to ensure that you can. So then you start making use of resources, and the resources could be, hey, after a meeting, you'll call up your staff, somebody on your staff, and tell on them, dictate to them all the things that need to be prepared. So that could be delegation. Second, there could be the second D could be dictation. That means you dictate into a software and you put everything down in the proper way, either on a calendar or on the notes or any kind of software that you want to use. And the third could be you don't care about the outcome, so you delete it completely, and you don't bother about it, and hey, you know what, whatever is going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that are possible. Again, it all stems from the way you want to be. And in our Nalini ji said it so nicely that when you have that, the karma will show you internal. Like I want to just take a minute extra in pointing this out, that karma might give you a family or a dad who's very organized and also make you into the kind of person who likes organization. But at a certain point in your time, in your life, especially as an adolescent, you might actually start a revolt mechanism wherein you deliberately don't stay organized just to make him feel irritated or make her feel irritated, you know. So
So
it's
I
about
hear
that
that.
particular situation, you know. It's about that particular moment, and it's about you internally where you want to be. Be
Yeah.
is everything, according to me.
Paresh, that is a very, very key to the whole scenario of building organized living. How is the internal mechanism shaping up? And the few minutes that we have, I would request Nalini ji to help us figure out a way so that internally we have the kind of clarity. And I take a quick example of when the sun rises, sun rays spread with light and heat both. So when you have that internal clarity, probably you will be more organized, and you will be more orderly, and you will be more efficient and productive. So how to work on building that kind of inner space, Nalini ji?
So I will give you examples of people who I have worked with. Number one are my own children. And to raise children, you can leave it completely loose, or you can show them a path, or you can control them every minute of the game. And I always took the middle of the road, which is to find out what do they want, and secondly, how to get there. So this teaches them to identify, what do I want? She's always asking me, what do I want? But I don't know. That's not an answer. You do know. And then you go further into guiding them to show the path. And eventually they learn how to do that. In my workplace, I had a very disorganized secretary. And I had to identify that I don't want to fire her, but I want to work with her because she's a good person. So every morning we met, and she had a book that I gave her. In that book, with a date and the time when we meet, we wrote down what are the things that are supposed to be done and finished before we meet again. And the next time we meet, that book comes. She checks off what is done and keeps it off, because that has to be done further. And at that time, we have to look at efficiency. We took a whole day to do this. There's something not right. How do you think we can correct that? So my goal was not to just delegate, not to just control that person, but to work with the strengths of that person, so that we can all go in the same direction, and we ultimately achieve the goal that we are looking for. So at
Wonderful.
the end of the day, when there is an award given to a program which used to be mine, I gave the speech in which I said, this happened because of the efficiency of my secretary,
Very
because
good. Very
the
good.
hard work of my residents. This is not just work done by me, even though the award is given to me.
So I'll quickly recollect one very often used quote that success is a 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. So that perspiration can be reduced if we are better organized. So let us work in that direction. And this is very underrated and very important quality which needs to be given due importance. Looking at the time constraint, and there is so much to talk about, I bow my head and express my gratefulness to Dr. Nalini Juthani ji as well as Paresh ji, and indeed, with lots of good wishes for all of you. Thank you very much for joining. Uh, Wishing
Thank you,
you
Ashok ji.
more productive years ahead. This is Ashok Vyas.
Thank